Namaste. Thanks for coming and joining us. We really appreciate having you with us for our Monday night Kirtan and Bhagavad Gita class with Bhagavad. And hope everyone is having a nice Ekadasi. Parama Ekadasi. I'm not sure if you needed this now. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Dinanine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Dinamine Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pristayate Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gorakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pristayate. Did I not give you the right chord?
That's not the right chord.
It's the second one there.
Yeah, that's it.
Second one.
Yeah.
Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gorakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pristayate Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gorakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pristayate. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That one, isn't it? Yeah. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Parivajika Sitars and Shishima Jagakuru Siddhaswarupananda Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajika Sitar Sarashishimad. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Guru Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur's World Mission Ki Jai. Navadvita Dhamma Ki Jai. Shishi Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Mathuradam Ki Jai, Mayapodam Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to Samal devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Samal devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Samal devotees, Hare Krishna. Ama Gina Timarandasya Gina Gina Salakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Statpitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swa Padantekam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanan Bhavenbhyo Vaishnavbhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa Niti Namine. Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahansa Namine. Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastayate. For speaking, first I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Jagakuru Siddhaswarupananda, Srila Prabhupada, whose very dear Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada is the mercy manifestation of Lord Chaitanya, and is very dear to Radha and Krishna. Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastayate. And I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are like wish-fulfilling trees, able to fulfill all the desires of the fallen souls, and full of compassion upon them. Haribo Namaste. So my voice is a bit shot today. I talked a bit too much. So we're continuing with our study of Krishna's initial teachings to Arjuna. After Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, saying, "I'm a soul surrendered to you, please instruct me." So then Krishna began, instructing the basic ABCDs of spiritual life. Essentially, the science of identity, as Srila Prabhupada teaches it. I'm spiritual in essence. I'm not this body. I'm not this gross physical body. I'm not the subtle material body. So at this point, Krishna hasn't really started to speak on the second and third parts of the science of identity, that we're the dominated part and parcel, that I'm not the supreme soul. Krishna reveals this later on in in Bhagavad Gita. Later on, the first time Krishna mentions himself as being the supreme, and that Arjuna should take shelter of him, is in chapter 2, text 61. And then, of course, in chapter actually, at the end of sort of each chapter, Krishna kind of alludes, not each chapter, but certainly by chapter 4 and chapter 5, chapter 6, Krishna is making it clear that he is the Supreme Personality and that Arjuna should be surrendering to him. And then in chapter 8, and then in particular in chapter 9, or chapter 7 and chapter 9, Krishna starts full on speaking about how he is the source of the material and spiritual worlds, that everything rests upon him. And in chapter 11, of course, Krishna reveals his transcendental universal form, his Virata Rupa. And so, of course, after that display, no one can question, well, is Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So, in chapter 12, Krishna then sets out that, that the devotee, that Krishna's devotee, is far superior to the impersonalist meditator, that he is on the impersonal path. Although he's on the spiritual path, it's not as good as the path of direct devotional service. Then in chapter 13, Krishna really begins to explain the difference between the Paramatma and the Super Soul, with Krishna being the Super Soul. So in Paramatma. So within chapter 2, Krishna does, in this part of chapter 2, in the purports of Srila Baladeva Vibhusana and Vishwanath Chakravarti, and previous acharyas, which Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami follows, he does point out that in some of the verses that Krishna is different than Arjuna, that Arjuna is Jiva Atma, whereas Krishna is Paramatma. And this is particularly the case in the purports to text 12 Krishna states that he, Arjuna, and all these kings here have always existed, and never in the future will they ever not exist. And then in text 20, which we spent the last few weeks discussing, the purports go into some detail on the difference between the Jiva-atma and the Paramatma, the difference between Krishna and Arjuna. And in the purport to text 22, again, the distinction between the super soul and the Jiva-atma is pointed out at some length. So part 2 of the science of identity is only indirectly being referred to at this point, and Krishna brings it out in more depth and more detail in subsequent chapters. And the third part of the science of identity, the function of the living entity is to engage in the devotional service of Krishna. This also comes out in later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is not directly referring to this. So this is kind of in these initial verses. So this is kind of interesting in several different ways that we can perhaps learn from this, in that it's very important to first establish that, when we're preaching to newer people or new people, to first establish that, that we're spiritual in essence, that we're not the body, we're not the gross physical body, we're not the subtle material body. And as part of this, we can emphasize that we're individual spirit souls. As Krishna says right in the second verse in this sequence of verses where he's teaching on these ABCDs of initial spiritual life, that Natvevaham jatuna sam natvam nemi jana dipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamaha savi bhaya mata param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings here, and never in the future shall we ever cease to be. So we're spiritual in essence, but we are eternally an individual. Eternally an individual. It's not that we're all spiritual in essence and we're just temporarily an individual, and that while we're in these bodies, and then once these bodies are finished and we become liberated from the material world, that we then, as the impersonalist Mayavadi philosophers teach, that we all become one and we become unaware of our individual existence, and we no longer exist as an individual, that we are just all the Supreme Brahman, that individuals and personalities come from the Supreme Brahman, that including Krishna and all the incarnations of Krishna. This is the impersonalist teaching, Sankaracharya's teachings, that we're all, that we're all temporarily coming from the Supreme Brahman. It's all an illusion, and that actually we're the Supreme Brahman. So the Vaishnava, the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy and all the Vaishnava sampradayas teach that no, Krishna is the basis, that Krishna is the Supreme Brahman, and that the Brahman effulgence is emanating from him, the Brahma Jyoti. And Krishna makes this very clear at the end of chapter 14. Where he says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyadvashyata sashvatasya chadamasya sukasya kanikasya cha. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of happiness and religiosity. So Krishna is the basis of the impersonal Brahman. And so, we are the dominated parts and parcels of Krishna, but we are eternally individuals, as Krishna says in chapter 15, Mama Evamsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. So my amsas, the Jiva Bhutas, the Jivas, are eternally Sanatana, my fragmental parts. So we can learn from Krishna's initial verses that we begin with teaching that we are not this material body. We're eternally individual, but we are not this body. We are spiritual in essence, eternally an individual spirit soul. So Krishna has been making this point in various ways, beginning in text 11, through text 12 and 13. And in 13, Krishna begins or gives an initial explanation of reincarnation, of how we're changing in these bodies from boyhood to youth to old age, and similarly, at the time of death, we change to another body. In text 14 and 15, Krishna essentially teaches that we're also not the subtle body, that we're not the happiness and distress that we suffer, and he teaches that tolerance, we need to have tolerance to tikshva, and that one who is tolerant of this happiness and distress can attain liberation. And 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, Krishna further elaborates upon and gives different adjectives and different words to describe the nature of the soul. That we are sat, eternal, that the body is asat, temporary. In text 20, Krishna explains that the soul, the jiva, has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. That he is ajo, nitya, sashvato, ayam purano. So, aja, unborn, nitya, eternal, sashvato, unchanging. And Purano is original, always existing. So this is the nature of the soul. So Krishna, and at the end of that verse, Nahanyate hanyamani sari re, that the soul is not slain when the body is slain. So in text 21, Krishna then continues with this same idea. So Krishna says, Veda vinasanam nityam ya ena majjama vyayam kathamsa purusha patha kam gatayati hantikam. O Pārtha, Pārtha being the name of Arjuna, as being the son of Pritha or Kunti. Pritha was Kunti's original name, but her King Kunti Bhoja, was childless, and so Prithu, Kunti's father, Kunti Bhoja, Kunti's mother, then gave her to, I'm getting this wrong, Prithu, the father of Pritha or Kunti, gave her to his childless sibling, and so then named Kunti Bhoja, and so then Kunti or Pritha took on the name of Kunti. So sometimes Krishna refers to Arjuna as Pritha, and sometimes as the son of Kunti, Kanteya. And both of Arjuna's families, Kunti's families, and thus Arjuna's family heritage is very noble. And so as Krishna refers to him as the son of Pritha or as the son of Kunti, he is like, reminding Arjuna of his wonderful Kshatriya heritage. So, addressing Arjuna as O Pārtha. So this is a reminder to Arjuna that he comes from a wonderful Kshatriya heritage on his mother's side. And, so the idea that Arjuna is not going to fight, that he's going to walk away from the battlefield and go and become a beggar, is just completely against Arjuna's family heritage, both on his father's side, where he is the one of the Pandavas, son of Maharaj Pandu, or on his mother's side, from where he is the grandson of Pritha and Kunti Bhoja. So Arjuna, Krishna is reminding Arjuna of this. It's like a little bit of a, so while Krishna is giving Arjuna the basic spiritual ABCs that, hey Arjuna, nobody dies. They can't be slain. You can't slay them. Right? Who can slay them? They can't be slain. He also reminds him at the same time that actually you have noble heritage and you cannot walk away from your dharma. You must perform your dharma, of kashat, to protect. O Pārtha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? So Veda means to know. Avinasanam is indestructible. So the soul is avinasanam. The soul is indestructible. Nityam, always existing. Veda vinasanam nityam. So the different acharyas here, Baladev and Vishwanath, they describe nityam as being an adverb to the verb Veda. So in other words, a person who always knows that the soul is indestructible, avinasanam. So the soul cannot be destroyed. It's indestructible. And Krishna, and I will expand upon this in texts 23 and 24 when he explains how the soul can't be cut by any weapon, can't be burned or dried or withered by the wind. So the soul is indestructible, avinasanam. And then further adjectives describing the nature of the soul. He is ajam, unborn. So Krishna said the same thing in text 20, that the soul is unborn. So Krishna is, Krishna's quite, is being repetitive, right? Actually, text 20 to text 21, he's making the same point again, that the soul is ajam, unborn. The soul is unborn. Does not take birth when the body takes birth. The soul does not come into being. So Krishna has made this point, several, at least 4 or 5 times, just in the last 10 verses, between text 21 through, text 11 through text 21. He's made the point that the soul is not born, is unborn. There is no time when the soul comes into existence. And I spoke at great length last week about history, and the history of the soul, and how the soul is unborn. And so our whole mind frame of history and time, just goes out the window once you properly meditate upon and consider the point that the soul is unborn, that the soul does not come into being at any point. This is just such a transformational point for us and for anyone who can, has the good fortune to actually hear this point and then is able to meditate upon it, reflect upon it, and then get some perspective on their existence in this material world and in this particular body, that this is just a flash in time. The example is given in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful book of God, that it's like, if you go to the beach, and I'm elaborating upon the example, but if you go to the beach, and there's Kailua Beach down here, and you walk along the beach, which I should do more of. I haven't done it for a while. There used to be so many tourists that it was just like, even early in the morning, walking along the beach, trying to chant your beads, and it's like, well, there's all these people, and you've got to acknowledge them and say Hari Bol, and then there's, all these. Anyway, it's just a big distraction, so I kind of gave up on that and just walk around the local neighborhood, where, of course, I have to acknowledge a few people, but nothing like at the beach. And but anyway, if you go to the beach, there's waves breaking, and as the waves break, it creates foam, which is essentially bubbles, right? The water somehow or other, got no idea how, manages to capture air, and it creates air bubbles or water bubbles. There's like water, and inside the thin film of water is air. And so these bubbles, they come into existence. So there's a beginning to this bubble, right? Unlike the soul, for which there is no beginning, which can be likened in a sense to the water, the element water and the element air. It transforms for a while, but is eternally existing, or as long as this manifestation of the material universe is. So anyway, so the thin film of water forms around some air gets caught inside this bubble, and this bubble, so it comes into existence. It exists for a little while, and it might even sort of float off a bit, and then it pops, and that's the end of it. And this goes on all day, down at the beach. Waves are constantly breaking. Bubbles are forming. They're coming into existence for a little while, and then they pop and they're gone. And this is actually what our body is, our life. This life, which is all important to us. I mean, come on, who can honestly say that anything is more important than your life? I mean, of course, you're all very nice devotees, so this example only really applies to myself, because fortunately we have had the good fortune of the association with our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and so we can, as we make progress in our spiritual life, pleasing our spiritual master and Krishna becomes more important than my own little insignificant life and pleasing the senses of this material body, including the mind, so pleasing the different desires that this material mind has. So anyway, it becomes more important. And so as nice devotees, my little example here isn't quite so appropriate for you all. But the idea is that generally speaking, we think our life is so important. It's everything to us. What I'm doing, who I am, my family members, my friends, my co-workers, the stuff, where I live, where I put this body, what bed it sleeps in, what plate it uses, what spoon, like I've got my favorite plates. Every morning I use the same plates, same spoon, and no one else gets to use it. And so anyway, this life, we're thinking it's so important, everything in connection with it. Like, well, what shirt I'm going to wear, what my face looks like. If I'm a woman, it's like, what does it look okay? What's the makeup like? It's all very important. I spend my time, studying makeup and buying makeup and going to makeup shops. Like there's a makeup shop in Kailua, Alta Beauty. You go in there and it's like, well, there's no men in there. It's all women. The man goes in there, it's like, oh, I feel most uncomfortable in here, I better get out of here. I've actually only been brave enough to sort of open the door and look in, and had to split. So anyway, the bigger point I'm making is that, generally speaking, we consider our life to be all in all, to be so important. Okay, but the reality is that this life is just like one of these bubbles down the Kailua beach. Comes into existence by higher power, material nature's power. The bubble comes into existence. It exists for a little while, and then it pops. So this is your life. This is my life. Just an ephemeral little bubble that exists for a bit, and then boom, it's gone. And all that remains is a photograph. Perhaps. Well, these days there'll be a ton of photographs, but they won't even be printed out on paper. They'll just be on your Facebook page or on your Instagram or in your photo folder on your phone. They won't even be printed out, So they won't even be stuck up on your parents' wall or on your kids' wall or your wall. They're just digital, bits of series of zeros and ones. So anyway, so then even further than this, like this analogy or example of bubbles is very appropriate, because ultimately there's Mahavishnu or Karanadakashayi Vishnu, who lies within the causal ocean. So there is the entire creation, and of course the creation's ever existing and ever expanding and ever infinite. So there is no sort of way to describe it. Like in the material world, everything is limited. There's some limit or some end to it. But there is no end or limit to Krishna. So anyway, but at certain times, the Mahat Tattva, or the total material energy, becomes manifested. Sometimes it's unmanifest, sometimes it's manifest. And Mahavishnu lies on the Karana ocean, the causal ocean, in a deep mystic slumber. And from his deep mystic slumber, or nidra, as he breathes out, emanating from his pores of his gigantic form, emanates little bubbles. And so there's a huge number of these little bubbles, and they go out, and as he exhales, there's innumerable universes, not like there's just one universe. So these are Brahmandas. So these Brahmandas emanate from the breathing of Mahavishnu, Karanadakashayi Vishnu. And then as Mahavishnu breathes in, then these universes then retract and then enter again into his body. So these universes are actually just like bubbles. And this is just one breath of Mahavishnu, Karanadakashayi Vishnu. So just in one breath, these innumerable number of universes manifest. And then over, a lifetime of Lord Brahma, which is many, billions of years, then the universe retracts and is annihilated. And then all the living entities, the naras, take shelter in Narayana and are unmanifest. So after our busyness of running around and with all these desires and taking on material bodies one after another, and pursuit of bhukti, sense gratification. Perhaps we take some interest in mukti or liberation for a little bit. But, at the end of this breath of Mahavishnu, we then become inactive, dormant, continuing to eternally existing as infinitesimal spirit soul. But instead of being so active, we get to have like a bit of a long rest. Like, oh, wow, man. It's just, we've been through so many lifetimes. Like we're always thinking about how important this life is, and I wonder who I was in my last life, and what about the life before that? So we're so absorbed in our existence in this particular life that we just don't understand and lose sight of what this means when Krishna is saying that we are aja, unborn. We are unborn. We are unborn. And we are nitya and sanatana, eternal. We're eternal. So these lives that we have are just like little bubbles that form in the beach and come into existence momentarily and then cease to exist. That's what this life is. And then on a bigger scale, That's what the whole universe is. It's just like a bubble forming at the coastline. So Mahavishnu breathes out, breathes in, breathes out, breathes in, breathes out, and this goes on for so long. Inconceivable, totally inconceivable. So we are ajo, unborn. We are avyayam, immutable. So this is an interesting word. I was thinking about, well, what does this mean, immutable, right? Because you have like mutations. So I was thinking, is this somehow connected with mutations? And I guess ultimately, obviously, the word mutation is has the same kind of root as immutable or mutable. But anyway, so it means unchanging over time or unable to be changed. So the soul is, Krishna is saying in this verse, is avinasinam, indestructible, ajam, unborn, avyayam, immutable. So Krishna's point is that, well, how can someone who understands that the soul is indestructible, eternal, nityam, so indestructible, avinasanam, nityam, eternal, ajam, unborn, and avyayam, immutable. So how can a person who knows this kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? And so a slightly different way of saying this last part of kam gata yati hanti kam is also, whom does he slay? So someone who's knows this about the soul, so whom does he slay? He knows he doesn't slay anyone because the soul is, he knows that the soul is eternal, indestructible, and immutable, not able to be changed. And secondly, how can he cause anyone to be slain? So he can't slay anyone, and he can't cause anyone else to slay anyone, or cause anyone to be slain by anyone. So it is not possible. So, Srila Baladev Vidyabhusana says, this verse explains that one who, having this knowledge of the truth, engages in war or causes others to engage in such a war while fixed in Dharma has no fault at all. So this is very important, of course, and I've spoken on this before. We can't use Krishna's words as a basis to just go around killing people. It's kind of obvious, but it needs to be said. People can misconstrue, misinterpret, misuse Krishna's words to justify their sinful and improper activities. So Srila Baladev Vidyabhusana says that this is that a person who engages in a war himself or causes others to engage in such a war while fixed in Dharma. So this is very important proviso. While fixed in Dharma, right? Fixed in religious duty, has no fault at all. So there is no fault in killing if one is doing it in pursuit of one's Dharma. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami gives some very nice examples of this. So he says in his purport, similarly, violence also has its utility, and how to apply violence rests with the person in knowledge. Although the justice of the peace awards capital punishment to a person condemned for murder, the justice of the peace cannot be blamed because he orders violence to another person according to the codes of justice. So in other words, the judge, sometimes, presides over a trial, and if the accused is found guilty of a capital crime such as murder, then the judge then sentences the criminal to death. So there's a law, right, that murders, someone who murders someone in the first degree under aggravated circumstances or whatever it may be, that the punishment is death. So then the judge is dispassionately applying the law to the situation. And so the judge is not, he's not killing, he's not murdering. There is no karmic consequence for the judge, right? Because he's acting in accordance with the law, or perhaps I shouldn't necessarily say it like that. I'm not quite sure what the karma may be, right? But in terms of the point that Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is saying, that the judge is not subject to the law. It's like the accused who murdered someone, they're subject to the law, and they're going to suffer the consequence for committing murder. And the judge who's sentencing the criminal to death, he's not subject to the law, to this, the laws of the land. He's not going to be tried for capital punishment and executed. No, he's carrying out the law. So this is like the concept of dharma. So, a soldier, a kshatriya, engaged in his religious occupation of protection is not, is acting in dharma. And so he is not at fault, in the words of, he has no fault at all, in the words of Srila Baladeva Vijayabhusana. So, and of course, even more so importantly, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada says, so when Krishna orders fighting, it must be concluded that violence is for supreme justice. And thus Arjuna should follow the instruction, knowing well that such violence committed in the act of fighting for Krishna is not violence at all. Because, at any rate, the man, or rather the soul, cannot be killed. So for the administration of justice, so-called violence is permitted. A surgical operation is not meant to kill the patient, but to cure him. So, Bhaktivedanta Swami gives the example that in the Manu Samhita, the law book for mankind, it's supported that a murderer should be condemned to death, so that in his next life he will not have to suffer for the great sin he has committed. Therefore, the king's punishment of hanging a murderer is actually beneficial. So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's example, a surgical operation is not meant to kill the patient, but to cure him. So similarly, executing a murderer, of course it kills this body, but it doesn't kill the soul. And it's like applying a cure. So in the next life, he doesn't have to be murdered himself. So anyway, so that's very kind of interesting point. So anyway, I think we'll leave it there for tonight, and we can return a little bit to some of the next week, to some of the comments of the acharyas on this verse, and then we can move on to text 22. So, again, thank you very much appreciate you watching. I appreciate your comments and chanting with us, and studying Bhagavad Gita with me. And I hope that that your love and appreciation for Bhagavad Gita grows. If just one person becomes a little more attracted to study a Bhagavad Gita, then I'll feel that all these classes have been of most worthwhile. So on Friday night, I'll be continuing to discuss Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Sri Bhajana Rahasya, and discussing their anathas, and we'll be discussing offences at some more depth. So it's on Friday night at Healing Chant 108. So we'll have some more Kirtan now. Thank you very much. Hari Bol.
Hey, Bo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hello everyone. Best wishes for a good week ahead, and we'll see you next time.